Okay, so you said you were having trouble with foiling, all right? So I'm gonna come back here. I'm gonna go over a few problems. So, F-O-I-L. So it means first times first, outers, the outside one times the outside one, inners. Does outer have two T's? I don't know. And then last times last. Okay, so we'll start off kind of easy. Here's the first one. Gonna start off with x plus 4 times x minus 7. So I'm just gonna do this. First times first, outers, inners, last times last. So first times first, x times x is x squared. The outers, now one thing that I do is I don't write the outers and then the inners down and then do another step to write the answer down. That seems silly to me. So I do the outers and I write the answer on the arc. You have to make sure and include your sign. So in negative 7 times x is negative 7x, and the inners is a positive 4x. And then I collect those and write my answer down. So 4x minus 7x gives me a negative 3x. And then last times last, positive times negative is a negative. 4 times 7 is 28. Okay? All right, now let's do one that's a little bit more difficult. We're gonna do 2x minus 5 times 3x plus 7. So we're gonna go first times first. 2x times 3x, 6x squared. The outers gives you a positive 14x, and the inners gives you a negative 15x. So unlike signs again, so we're going to subtract smaller from the larger, 14 from 15, and then take the sign of the larger. So 14 from 15 is 1, and the sign of the larger is negative, so negative 1x, or just x, however you want to write it. And then last times last is negative 35. So that's my answer. Okay? Now I'm going to do one, and 4x plus 6 times 2x plus 3. Okay, so what I want you to do is pause the video and then work it yourself, and then come back and start the video, all right, and see how it goes. So first times first is 8x squared. The outers is a positive 12x. The inners is also a positive 12x. So that gives me a positive 24x. And then my last times last, 6 times 3 is 18. Okay, hope you got that one right. Now, let's do one more. 4x plus 6 times 2x minus 3. Okay, so I want you to pause the video, you work it, and then come back and see if you worked it right. All right, so first times first, 4 times 2 is 8, and x times x is x squared. Oh, I'm not looking at it, sorry. The outers, 3 times 4x is a negative 12x. Is that right? And inners is a positive, what, is this the one we just did? Yeah, except I'm sorry, I changed the sign. So I'll do a positive 12x. These two are the same, they cancel each other out, so you don't have an inner term. And then your last times last is negative 18. Okay? Now, you said something about I had a shortcut, so I don't really know what you were talking about, because there is no shortcut to doing that, unless you were talking about this. If you square a binomial, which this just means x plus 5 times x plus 5, which you can do it that way and FOIL it out. There's nothing wrong with that. It just takes a long time. So I always taught my kids to work it in less than 5 seconds. But there's 4 steps you have to know. The first step, what you're gonna do is you're going to square the first. Okay, why? Because you're gonna say the first times the first, and they're the same thing. The second thing, you're going to keep the sign. So whatever this sign is right here, you're gonna keep it. If it's a plus, you'll write down a plus. If it's a minus, you'll write down a minus, all right? The third thing, okay, so here's what's fixing to happen. So if you're over here and you were multiplying x plus 5 times x plus 5, see, there's squaring the first, okay? Now, when you multiply the inners, you get a positive 5x. When you multiply the outers, you also get a positive 5x. So you get 2 of these terms. Okay, so what we do is we just say twice, square the first, keep the sign, twice their product. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I go over here and I write their product. I draw a little rainbow thing and I write their product. X times 5, remember product means multiply. So x times 5 is 5x. And twice that would be 10x. See, that's the same thing that you get when you're over here. So that's where the twice their product comes from. And then the last thing is always a plus because you're squaring something. It's always going to be positive. Square the last. Okay? So we're going to follow these rules and we're going to square this binomial. All right, so we square the first, x squared. Keep the sign, plus. I'm just following these rules. Twice their product. So I always draw the little rainbow and I write their product up here, then I double it because you got 2, one for the inners and one for the outers. So that's 10x. Plus, square the last, 25. Okay, I'm gonna do one more and then I'm gonna send you this video. Okay, so we're gonna do one that's kind of hard. Let's go 4x minus 7, quantity squared. All right, so if I were you, I'd pause the video and I would try to do it by myself. You're just following these rules, okay? And then come back and watch and see if you did it right. All right, so I'm fixing to do it. So I'm gonna square the first. Now remember, when you square the first, you have to square everything. So I have to square the 4 and the x. So I'm gonna get 16x squared. Keep the sign, minus, twice their product, so their product, 4x times 7 is 28x, and twice that is 56x. And then plus, square the last, 49. Okay, that's the only shortcut that I could think of that maybe you were talking about, but I'm not sure. So if it's something else, then text me back and let me know, okay? So let me know how this goes.